Hello, everybody. I am back. I went live earlier at 2 o'clock to discuss the release of my latest novel, Nightshade Station. And that's why we're here again right now, because I know a lot of people are just getting out of work or have been busy all day. So I thought I'd do two videos. So here we are. Uh, it's only going to be repeating to me, so no worries there. All right. So the first time I did this video, I discussed obviously what are we going to be going over here? Well, obviously, I'm going to tell you what the book is about. I'm going to tell you about some of the characters, and I'm also going to tell you the journey, the excruciatingly long journey that it took me to write this thing. And it was definitely a journey, I'll say that. Absolutely absolutely crazy. But yeah, so today is the first official release day of Nightshade Station. It is also, as of 3 o'clock this afternoon, it is available for paperback. So whether you like paperback or Kindle, you can get either or. I am sorry to those of you that enjoy listening to audiobooks, but unfortunately, I have conflicting issues with certain audio providers, which makes none of my books available for audiobook. I'm trying to get that fixed in the future, but until they come with a better negotiation, I just can't do it. But it is available in Kindle and paperback, so that's where most people buy their books, right? That's how they do it. All right. So, first things first, what is the book about? Well, Nightshade Station, in a nutshell, in a sentence, is a crime thriller slash horror about Atlantic City police detective. The book is set in Atlantic City. It's about the Atlantic City police detective Declan Coville as he tries to solve the mysterious case of why people are dropping dead at the creepy and gloomy subway station called Nightshade Station. And I say that it's a crime thriller and a horror because I write both. I mainly write horror, as people know. And basically, I wanted to write another crime thriller. And obviously, because I write horror, I wouldn't not include horror, right? So obviously there are some gruesome scenes in there, which of course all horror fans will like. So it's considered a psychological horror and psychological crime thriller. So just to let everyone know, I am streaming live on Facebook and YouTube here and Instagram here. So I'm going to do my best to balance. Most of my focus will be here, but I will try to go back and forth best as I can. So I'll try to do that. As I had stated earlier in my first video, Instagram, the service that I use on here allows me to use Instagram, but I need a streaming key, and I don't know how to do that. But enough of the tech stuff. More about the book, right? This is my 13th novel. Crazy, right? If you told me 12 years ago, back when I started, that I would have 13 books in 2025, I'd have called you crazy. But here we are. Here I am. Um, so yeah, Nightshade Station. I just told you what it's about. I will read the back cover. Mind you, this is the only back cover in existence that has on it what it has. I decided to change it at the last possible minute. And yeah. And then I ordered a copy after. I ordered a copy and then I changed it. And then I asked Amazon, hey, I just ordered a copy, but then I changed the the font on the back a little bit. Which copy will I get? And the woman's like, you'll most likely get the older copy. And I'm like, that's unfortunate. The old version. But yeah, basically what I'm about to read to you is the book in a nutshell. It sounds better for the cover that you may potentially get if you in fact buy my book. 3 bodies lie dead on the subway tracks. More bloodshed and death follow. Can a detective solve this mystery, or will it become a cold case? Declan Koval is a bright young investigator with a keen sense in hindsight. However, when he arrives on the scene, his ability to understand the situation is replaced with uncertainty in a series of shocking discoveries. Perplexed and running out of time, he's determined to come to a deduction of the motive, no matter what it takes. With a lack of clues and each passing moment becoming more gloomier by the minute, he must solve the case before more people end up dead. What is happening at Nightshade Station? So the hook is important here because it says 3 bodies lie dead on the subway tracks. And I will read a passage later on from the book. And immediately you will find that 3 people jump from the yellow platform of Nightshade Station, thus killing themselves. But why? That's what Koval wants to find out. And also, what does this mean going forward? Well, more people drop dead. How? Why? Again, that's what you'll have to find out by reading the book. So, one thing that I did last time was I discussed the characters. Now, Declan Koval, as I just introduced him to you, is our main character. There's pretty much four characters who are pivotal, I'll say, to the book. 4 main people that you hear about. The first one is Declan Koval. He's 32 years old. He's got brownish, blondish hair, blue eyes, and like I said, a keen sense and hindsight. What does that mean? That means that he's kind of like Sherlock Holmes. He can look at a crime scene differently than a normal detective would. He can look at it and pick things out that most people would be like, I don't get it. How did you see that? That's amazing. And he's able to do that. That's why he's the go-to guy. But when he gets to Nightshade Station, as you heard me read, basically, even he's scratching his head, right? He's kind of like, not even I can figure this out. At least not like that, right? So he's our main character. What's funny is I include some of his hobbies, and this isn't a regular, but when I had my book beta read, the woman who beta read it, yeah. She was like, she circled all 3 of his hobbies, and she goes, "Is this relevant to the story?" And I'm thinking to myself, most police detectives are lucky if they have any hobbies, never mind 3, because they're so focused on work, because they bring work home with them, which he does too. So I'm like, yeah, of course it does. Like, mind you, I didn't go back with her back and forth. It's just she read the book, she made all the changes, well, not the changes, but her suggestions of what was wrong with it, right? And as I'm reading it, I'm seething. I'm like, oh my God, she doesn't get this part. She didn't get this part either. So yeah, I kept that. That was one of a few things I kept. I did change. It was constructive criticism, but then it wasn't. So I did a lot of changes. I made a lot of changes. I cannot talk. So yeah, Declan Koval, he has hobbies, and he likes art, he likes watching sports, and he likes enjoying the outdoors when he's not working, which is, to me, important to know since he's a police detective. Because again, most police detectives bring their work home with them. The second, actually, yeah, before I get into the second character, it is worth mentioning Colville does have a girlfriend, who I will mention as the third character, but he is seeing someone, which is which we will get to as I mention it. And the second character I will talk about is the second most important person in this book, which is Police Chief Donald Waldron. Now, Police Chief Donald Waldron gave me the ability to do something that I've done in other books, but I've surpassed I've surpassed it in this book. And that, of course, is the use of profanity, swearing. Which isn't to say that Chief Donald Waldron isn't a bad guy because he swears a lot, and he swears like a sailor. It's crazy. And I didn't use this character so that I would have an excuse to swear in the book. It just so happens that the character that I pictured was this guy, this police chief, who, for the most part, is well mannered, well tempered. He's got Colville, one of his best detectives, but he also has some incompetent detectives, right? He also usually doesn't come across a case as baffling and mysterious as Nightshade Station, which is why he swears a lot throughout the book. This is easily the most the most swears I've ever had in a book. The most swears. So that was fun to write. And basically, Chief Donald Waldron he's like the go-to. There's a lot of dialogue and conversations between him and Declan Colville, right? And we kind of find out a little bit about his past, which I will definitely not spoil. Something about his past is very interesting, which I imagine a lot of people can't say, even in real life. Like, just the layers of this man's past are truly head-scratching and eye-opening. So he's featured throughout the book. Obviously, Colville he's the main character. Then we have two other characters who are also featured prominently through the course of the book. The third character is Detective Aaron Hardin, and he is Colville's partner. And despite being partners for a few years, and they're good friends, Colville still kind of feels like he doesn't really know the man. And maybe that's because of the way he is, the way he works, but he feels like he's just never able to get to know Hart. This part of my hair is just really bothering me. There we go. And they work great together. They hang out on occasion outside of work, but again, Colville just feels like he doesn't know much about the man. Aaron Hardin is married, recently married, and he's kind of the guy that explains things and breaks them down for people. When Colville just says something to a person, a victim, or a witness, and they're just like, could you say that in English, please? And Aaron Hardin's there to pretty much break it down and, say it so that he knows where Colville's coming from. The fourth character is, I mentioned her before, Declan Colville has a girlfriend. Her name is Selena Gamber. We don't see Selena until at least chapter 5. She's referenced, but then we see her in chapter 5. And basically, Selena is Declan's crutch. She's the character that really, I would say, is his go-to. Because after a few trips to Nightshade Station, Colville just starts to mentally break down. Because any detective would, given what Nightshade Station has become, this behemoth, this mystery, this enigma. And it's fortunate for him that when Colville goes home, he asks Selena to stay with him, and she really becomes his rock, his go-to. Because if he didn't have her, he's staying by himself, and God only knows what's going to happen, right? And Selena is also featured prominently in chapters 10 and 11 because they decide to go to Miami. So there's 2 chapters that take place in Miami. The duration of the book takes place, of course, in Atlantic City. But for 2 chapters, it's Miami. And it's pretty much just Declan and Selena. And maybe something happens there too. So Selena's a supporting subpar character, I would say. That was one. Those are the 4 main characters. I can't talk. My God. Those are the 4 main characters. Then we have 2 other characters who are kind of, sort of, more subpar characters, right? So we have Miles, who is the ticket attendant at Nightshade Station. Because obviously, if we're talking about a creepy subway station, we have to know about somebody who's, you know, who's operating it, right? Who sees this crazy stuff go down. So we get to find out about Miles. He's a jolly young man, and even he, despite the information that he has on, some of the victims that jumped, he's just as baffled, right? And he was already creeped. Just imagine this: he was already creeped out by the subway station even before shit went down, right? So when shit goes down, he's just kind of like, man, like, please solve this. I want to stay here, but I don't want to stay here. And it's just, so we get to know a little bit about Nightshade Station because of the man that works there. And then we have another subpar character named Ariana. And Ariana is a subway artist. She is the girl who is outside of the subway station that Declan happens to see. And he kind of thinks, you know what, I think she might know something. So he crosses the street and talks to her. And wouldn't you know it, she has information. And they actually form a friendship because she's so nice and he's so forthcoming. And it really works out. She's actually featured in several chapters, but again, just a sub character, if you will. Fun fact: Selena, Declan's girlfriend, is based off of somebody that I actually know, and Ariana is also based on somebody that I know. So I kind of took 2 people that I know and decided to put them in this book. Do I normally do that? No. I just thought I would do it because I thought they would enjoy it, and I've since told them, and they're honored that they're characters in my book. So I thought that was a nice, fun little ad. Finally, there is one other character that is mentioned, but he has no dialogue. In fact, he's mentioned so many times in the book that you would think that he would be a character, but he's not. And that is named Glenn Napier. And I'm not going to tell you who Glenn Napier is, but I'm going to tell you simply that he is not an actual character who has dialogue in the book, but he is referenced several times. And this is actually the second time in which I've had a character in a book referenced but doesn't have dialogue. Although I think the last character I did have dialogue, but this man has none. But it's still worth mentioning because he is important and pivotal to the storyline. So yeah. So those are the characters of Nightshade Station. And now I'm going to tell you how the title came to be and how the book came to be. And basically, for those that know me, they would know, they can tell you, I tend to come up with ideas like that. I also tend to come up with titles like that. And one thing that I constantly do, lately at least, is I come up with an amazing title for a book, but no idea what the plot's going to be about, right? It's a gift and it's a curse. Like, oh, I came up with this great title. Shit, I have no idea what I'm going to write about for it, though. Nightshade Station was, in fact, one of these cases. I came up with a title off the top of my head randomly. Maybe because I like the word nightshade. I don't know. My brain works in mysterious ways. I'm still figuring it out. Anywho, Nightshade Station was intended to be permanently free on Amazon. Before I even wrote it, I was like, this is going to be a perma-free book. And it's going to skip the head of the line. Because I have my next 20 books planned out. Is that true, Justin? It's absolutely true. I'm a psychopath. Originally, my last book, Brimstone Express, was originally supposed to be a perma-free book. By perma-free, I mean always free on Amazon. This would be to get me downloads, to get me more viewers, to get people interested in my other books, and to get new email subscribers. But when I came up with the hook and the plot for Brimstone Express, I was like, there is no goddamn way I am making this book free. So then Nightshade Station popped into my head, and I was like, hey, I'm going to make this book permanently free. But then I thought of a cool plot for this book, and I was like, hey, I'm not going to make this book free either. Justin, you have to make one book permanently free. No, I don't. But the silver lining is that from Nightshade Station came Blood on the Boardwalk. Blood on the Boardwalk is also being released today. It is available on Kindle. It is currently 99 cents, but I'm hoping to get it free. I already talked to Amazon earlier today, and they're going to price match it on Drafted Digital. So it'll be free, and it'll be the permanent free book that I've always wanted for the last 3 years. It basically takes place 5 months after Nightshade Station, and it is about Declan Coville, of course, who is solving a case of a mysterious creature known to circle the depths and region of not only Atlantic City, but New Jersey. What is he talking about? Is he talking about what I think he is? I don't know. You'll have to find out. But yeah, so Nightshade Station was supposed to be a perma-free book. But what came of it is a 370-page book, which is a lot for me because I'm not Stephen King. I don't piss out Bibles, okay? What I do, however, is write books that are usually, if I had to guess, I would say 200 to 250 tops. So when I wrote Nightshade Station, I decided to add 3 chapters, or add a chapter, whichever you prefer. And yeah, Nightshade Station is my longest book at 370 pages. I say 370, but it's actually 381 because if you count the last 8 pages or last 5 pages, the last 12 pages, I think, God, I can't remember. It's Blood on the Boardwalk. So I give you the first few pages of Blood on the Boardwalk, and if you like that, you can download it for free off of Amazon. So yeah, where did the plot come from? I told you the title just popped into my head, but where the hell did the plot come from? I didn't mention this the first time I did the video, and I'm going to be a little cryptic, and I apologize, but maybe if people ever read the book and they want to know the deeper meaning, come and ask me. I will tell you. The outside meaning of the outside reason that I came up with the book was because I came up with this idea because I would see these videos on YouTube, on Instagram, because Instagram sends you random stuff, and you're just like, why am I seeing this? I didn't ask to see this. And you click on it, and before you know it, they're just showing you a bunch of stuff, right? It's just, you didn't ask for it, but there it is, right? And one of the videos that I saw on Instagram was of this creepy looking vaporwave-esque subway station. And it had nice vaporwave music to it. But it also looked really run down. And immediately my brain said, I wonder if I could make a story out of that. And then I thought, I was like, I wonder if people just like drop dead in a subway station. Would people notice? Depending on the amount of people that are there. And I also took the ending concept of the movie Collateral with Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx. And when Tom Cruise's character goes, "Hey, if a guy dies in the subway, do you think anybody will notice?" So I kind of took that and I kind of like extended it, you know. But basically, I got the whole idea based off this mystique of this mysterious, creepy, rundown subway station. And then I was like, if you add some death here and there, what do you have? Like, you have a really good crime thriller, Nightshade Station. That's what you have. And yeah, so that's how that idea got started. Now I'm going to tell you the daunting thing that happened to me. And uh, those people that are close to me, that are my friends, they know what happened. I told anybody that I possibly could because it's something that no author should ever go through. Losing their book. I saved it to a USB drive. I started it in November. My computer died. So then I started writing the rest of it on my tablet, which I am on here. And I saved it to my USB. And little did I know, I didn't know or I forgot how to properly remove a USB from a tablet or a computer. That's the only thing I can figure, right? Because I plugged it in one day, all my Nightshade Station files, all the chapters were gone. And I freaked out. I was pissed. Immediately, I set up um, a meeting with Best Buy. Took the USB there. The guy was baffled. He's like, "This is like a 1 in 1,000 chance that this happens to somebody." And I was like, "Oh, thank you. That's so enlightening." So you can't help me? I'm sorry. So I bring it home. I download this service, this application, I guess, this app that allows me to recover corrupted files because that's the one thing he did tell me was that the files might be corrupted, but you might be able to retrieve them with a program, which I did. And I found like 8 chapters, but they were too corrupted for me to do, for me to like to fix. So I had 2 options. One, I could just say, screw it. I'm not going to write the book. Or, because it was still really fresh in my head, having just written it, I could write it again. 2 weeks, 7 hours. Is it? No, excuse me. 2 weeks. Yes, I had it earlier. 2 weeks, 7 hours, and I don't remember. Whatever. It took me 2 weeks to write the book, is basically what I'm saying, which you shouldn't do as an author. If you're writing a book in 2 weeks, you're either really good or that book is really shitty. I'm in the middle of that because Nightshade Station is not shitty, and I'm not Stephen King or James Patterson. So the fact that I was able to piss out a book in 2 weeks isn't because I'm a shitty author. It's because I had most of it already in my brain, and it went onto the onto the screen. And yeah, I actually remembered most of it from when I wrote it the first time. And yeah, there was a lot of crucial scenes, which I'm going to read a passage. And when I remembered crucial scenes, I was like, I have to put these down immediately. Not because I'm going to forget them, but because I want to remember them word for word exactly how they are in my head. And there's descriptions, there's scenes and chapters, and there's character um, dialogue that is all still original. And only I know that. So I just told you something that's kind of interesting, right? At least I think you would think it's interesting. So, yeah, it took me 2 weeks to write it. And then I had to have the book beta read. And I didn't really go into this in depth the first time I went live, but I had a beta reader who I wanted somebody who is familiar with police procedurals because my book lacked authenticity when it came to like the police jargon, also medical. And wouldn't you know it, the woman who decided to read my book had a background in um, medical, and she was actually a police dispatcher back in the day. So I was like, okay, this is the woman I want to read my book. She was not the woman I want to read my book. Um, Constructive criticism, you've ever heard of it? I would say absolutely, but she had a huge problem with the way that I didn't describe things. And as I was going over, because I sent her a PDF, double spaced, and she would circle things that either she didn't understand or she wanted described more, or that she felt was wrong. And it got to a point where I was like literally on the 7th page of my book, and I'm like, F this woman. Like, how dare you? I tried to like look it over and I'm just like, okay, she makes a good point, but I don't need to go into that much detail when it comes to this particular scene. But basically, it kind of lit a fire under me, right? I pretty much was like, okay, she wants more description. I'll make this book more descriptive. I think I got a little carried away in some of the descriptions, if I'm being honest. But that's good. That's good, right? So after the book was beta read, I had it edited, and it was ready to go. Now, before I read from this charming book, the cover. Who did the cover, Justin? I did. Excuse me. It's the first cover I've ever done for one of my books. Was it to save money? Of course, because I love saving money. That's true, I really do. But that wasn't the main reason. I swear. The first reason I did it was because, remember, the book was originally supposed to be perma-free. So if the book was going to be free, I was like, well, I might as well do the cover myself. But after I scrapped that idea, I still wanted to do the cover because I thought, it would probably come in handy to learn how to do book cover art, to put together my own book covers. So I'm on Canva and I'm messing around with it, and I come up with a couple of ideas. I get a couple art concepts from this guy's website, and he specifically says to DM him if you wish to use some of his art, which 3 of them blew me away, right? So I went into Canva and I laid down 3 covers. I messaged the guy and I asked him if I could use it and I would pay him, never heard back from him. I messaged him on his website, never heard back from him. I messaged him on Instagram, never heard back from him. And he's kind of I think he's just one of those people that just doesn't check his DMs because he posted in his story, he made new posts on his page, and it's like, dude, like, you specifically request for people to message you to use your work, and okay, whatever. So I ended up going on another website, and for $1, like $2, I bought like 5 concepts, and one of them was the guy in the background there. Then of course we got the moon, we got I think it's a really great cover. On Facebook, there's one particular woman in this group that I'm a part of who would not care for my cover, but I didn't write my book for her, so I don't really give a crap. But basically, you make the cover based off of the genre you're in. Crime thrillers tend to be blue. They can also be green, so technically I'm not going against any rules here, right? Also, if the cover art's good enough, what does it matter, right? Right. So, fun little story here. I'm uploading the cover to Amazon, and I already knew before I even did it, I'm like, it's going to be off. I've never done this before myself. The dimensions are going to be off. But how bad? So I upload it, it's loading, it stops, it appears on screen. The back, this was cut off because this was like all the way up. And for those of you that um, don't write, Amazon has a template, right? And it's like to give you an idea here, right? There's like a red dotted outline of what can go inside. That and Nightshade Station were just too far up. And I thought, okay, this is an easy fix. So as I'm fixing it, I realized, well, how am I going to create a spine? Like, I have no idea how to create a spine. So I watched a video on YouTube and on Canva, and basically there's this feature, right? So I'll show you the spine. It's black. I originally had it green. And basically what you do is you take the color and you take this and you copy it. And then you paste it in a blank document. This is all in Canva. And then there's a feature that allows you to turn it 90 degrees. So when you do that, it becomes flat. And I was like, holy shit, that's awesome. The problem was it was light green. And it showed the template that I had downloaded from Amazon. So you could see through it. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just make it black. And I did it again. And I was like, oh my God, it's so cool. It's the little things that, that count. So after I got that fixed, I thought, hey, this cover is going to turn out great. And I ordered the copy. Of course, this is the only copy in existence that has the back font that it does. And speaking of, let me read a small passage, a few pages of Nightshade Station. Before I do, I like to talk about quotes. So I'm a big fan of putting quotes in books. If any of you have ever read a book, which I hope you have, although some millennials probably not. You always see the quotes in the beginning of books, right? You ever wonder about them though? So for the longest time, for my first few books, I would actually only include like one quote because I just never really noticed it. One day I was down in the basement and, excuse me a moment. I was down in the basement and I came across one of my mom's books by Dean Koontz. And as I opened the pages, I noticed that he had like 5 to 7 quotes. And I'm like, I've never seen this many quotes in a book before. Can you do this? And I thought, of course you can. You can do whatever you want. It's your book. So I started including more quotes in the book. The quotes that I have are fitting to the book itself. A fool's paradise is a wise man's hell, Thomas Fuller. Experience is not what happens to a man, it's what a man does with what happens to him, Aldous Huxley. It is very dangerous to go into eternity with possibilities which one has oneself prevented from becoming realities. A possibility is a hint from God, Soren Kierkegaard. Again, I thought they were fitting to what the book's about, so I included them. Most of the time when I first started writing books, I would always include quotes from either Vincent Price, Rod Serling, or Edgar Allan Poe. Like my 3 inspirations, I just like, you need more. Like it's hard. I get why I'm doing it, but I need more quotes from different people. But yeah, I will read the first few pages of Nightshade Station. Three people jumped to their deaths off the subway platform of Nightshade Station. The site had turned from normal to an absolute catastrophe in a matter of seconds. Everyone that had witnessed it was in a state of shock. One man called onto the scene was Atlantic City Detective Declan Colville. While he was used to being called into the countless amounts of crazy crime scenes, he had no idea how crazy and strange this one would be. Declan Colville was unlike most detectives because he had a keen sense in hindsight, and the way he could read people or examine a crime scene was something straight out of a Sherlock Holmes novel. His perception of seeing things differently made it easier for him to evaluate and eliminate evidence. When Colville arrived on the scene and looked around, he knew he was in for one rude awakening. There were about a dozen people who had witnessed what happened, but what he also already knew was that not everyone who had seen something. This was not everyone who had seen something. He had a feeling some people, despite having witnessed such a horrific scene, took off, not wanting to talk or explain what they had seen. While he didn't blame them, taking off during a crime scene was still a despicable thing to do. Declan Colville is 32 years old, with brown hair and blondish hair and blue eyes. He had been with the Atlantic City Police Department for 8 years. In 2021, after things slowly started to go back to normal from the pandemic, he became a detective rather than a regular beat cop. I'd like to know that I had to include when I said in 2021, originally, I put things started to go back to normal. My beta reader circled and said, go back to normal from what? And I thought, does she really want me to explain in fiction that, did she not remember the pandemic? I was like, okay, I'll include the pandemic then. But I assumed that when you realized it was 2021, but whatever. I digress. He was practically doing the work of a detective anyway, so he figured it was time for him to move up the ladder. Cole was one of those people that brought work home with him, and sometimes detach himself from it proved difficult. He lived alone in a studio apartment, which fit his bachelor status and his casual lifestyle. When he wasn't being a detective working a crazy amount of hours, he usually enjoys watching movies, art, and just enjoying a quiet time at home. In many ways, Colville was a typical Atlantic City citizen, and in many ways he wasn't. He was a friendly and outgoing guy, but what really made him stand out was that he was a brilliant detective, the type of detective that gave a damn about people's well-beings after the case. The way Colville looked at it is he would want someone to treat him with respect and decency, so why not start by giving it to others? His partner was Aaron Harden. Aaron stood at 5'7", with black hair and blue eyes. Harden was the quieter of the two, which isn't to say that he didn't talk, but was very soft-spoken. He had been a detective for 6 years, and during that time, had gotten married and settled into a new home in Atlantic City. He and Colville worked well together, and had formed a friendship outside of it. The place that they now occupied, in the site of the crime scene, was Nightshade Station. A subway station worse looking than a New York subway station, which was saying something. Graffiti was prominent throughout the once Art Deco looking wall tiles. Some of the black spray paint used looked like a Rorschach ink blot that some hippie with violent Vietnam flashbacks claimed he saw and took his frustrations out on the wall. The concrete ground had enough cracks in it to make a plumber blush, and the flickering light fixtures high above likely hadn't been cleaned since the Clinton administration. The bathroom wasn't any better. It looked like a bathroom you'd have seen in a grungy 90s dance club, with odd-colored walls and many questionable white powder substances sprinkled throughout, along with broken pipes and syringes used to shoot dope floating in the toilets. The walls and stall doors were so filthy that if someone dared to use a blacklight, it would make their skin crawl and the light would break from its findings. The tracks were the only solid-looking thing within the whole underground transportation area, but they, too, had just been tainted. However, the place wasn't always so gruesome looking. Nightshade Station was built in 1967. While there were already at least 2 functioning subway stations, Nightshade Station was supposed to be the premier transportation structure in all of the United States. The subway goes through Manhattan and other big New York cities before stopping in Atlantic City. The route was supposed to take the route was supposed to be from New York through New Jersey and Pennsylvania all the way to Miami, Florida. But such high dreams never became a reality. When the first issue of A Fire took place in 1971, it set off a chain of events that would eventually put the place on the map for far worse reasons. A few subway collisions in the 70s, followed by a spike of crimes in the 80s, saw the place fall into utter decay. By the 1990s, the place sunk further into disrepair and had developed a reputation of being a place you could use to travel, but didn't dare stay at longer than you needed to. Nightshade Station was supposed to be the mecca of subway stations, and instead, it was like a rundown 60-year-old hooker that should have retired years ago and smokes a pack of Newports a day through the hole in her neck. A place where wanton wanderers were a subterfuge of violent indignations that regurgitated their infernal prayers onto the dirty concrete. It was supposed to be looked at as the brother of Grand Central Station, but was more like Fredo to Michael Corleone, a brother given the reins to a small taste of luxury, only to go against the family and fuck it up in the end. This is Nightshade Station, a gloomy underground pariah, forever doomed by its own faults. And I will stop there. So one thing that I would like to note is that last paragraph that I read, that was one of the things that the beta reader had said, like, I'm lacking the description. I'm not getting the idea. But like throughout the book, there were several times where she was like, oh, it's lacking description. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. That first paragraph is amazing. That was in the original book. That was in the original. The first time I wrote the book, a lot of that paragraph I included. So yeah. Hello. I saw that you came in. Thank you so much. Not to put somebody on the spot here, but I did mention characters earlier in the book. I did mention that 2 characters are people that I know. One of them is actually on the live, so thank you very much. I will actually go back and describe the character, Ariana the Subway Artist. She's a sub character, and she is one of the characters that Colville talks to because he feels like she might know something. She's across the way. She's painting a beautiful sunset, not to spoil anything. And she immediately knows that he's a detective. And he straight up asks her, did you happen to see what happened? And she says, no, but it's horrible. But I do think I have information for you. And he just immediately perks up like, wait, if you weren't there, how do you have information? And basically, not only does she give him information, but they kind of develop a friendship over the course of the book, where he kind of like refers to her for information about the subway station, because since she's like a regular and she's always outside of it, that she might know, the goings that happen. So yeah. Finally, I've read a passage from the book. I've explained the title. I talked about the absolute utter chaos of me having to write the book from scratch all over again. And one thing I would like to talk about is Blood on the Boardwalk, once again, which I mentioned briefly at the beginning. So Blood on the Boardwalk is the complementary short story to Nightshade Station. It takes place 5 months after Nightshade Station, and it takes place on the Atlantic City Boardwalk, because One thing that is prominent in Atlantic City is its boardwalk. There's also something else that's, um, what's the word I'm looking for? A myth, an urban legend that's in New Jersey, a certain creature, if you will. Basically, Nightshade Station was supposed to be permanently free. But the more I thought of an idea for the book, the more I realized that there's no possible way that I'm making Nightshade Station free. But then I came up with an idea. Wait, Justin, what if you came up with an idea based off of Nightshade Station and its characters, and you made that perma-free? Okay, I can do that. Yeah, let's do that. And I wrote Blood on the Boardwalk. As of right now, however, Blood on the Boardwalk is not perma-free. It's 99 cents on Amazon, but it is perma-free on Drafted Digital if you want to go and download it. I wrote to Amazon a few hours ago. They're supposed to match the price, but you know how that is. I might have to write them again. But yeah, so basically, the reason that Blood on the Boardwalk is free is so that way you have a second story for Nightshade Station, and also it's a way for me to collect email addresses and to get followers, basically in a nutshell. So yeah. So in conclusion, Nightshade Station, it took a hell of a lot to write, but it's finally out. I will show the cover, of course, one more time. This beautiful book. And back cover, fingerprint, gun. I thought that was a nice little touch. So yeah, my closing thoughts are: this is my 13th book. 13 is usually an unlucky number, and wouldn't you have it, this book has given me the most trouble than any other book. So take that for what it's worth, right? Yeah, so I'm a firm believer in my book. I would definitely say that if you like crime thrillers, this is the book for you. If you like horror, this book is for you as well, because it's psychological crime thriller / horror. And even though I busted my ass to write it, I definitely like the finished product, and I definitely believe in it. And I do hope that you'll pick yourself up a copy and let me know what you think. One thing that I did want to do was I wanted to write a book that, again, featured this, like I said in the beginning of this video, I wanted to write a book about this creepy, rundown subway station. It still functions, it's still in working order, but when you walk into it, you just get this sense of dread and gloom, and you don't know why. And people haven't even died yet. You're literally walking into a subway station like, dear God, what is this I'm feeling? I've never felt this before. This is eerie as hell. And then on top of it, you watch 3 people jump off the subway platform to their deaths. And if for some miracle that doesn't deter you, if that doesn't put you in a state of shock, right? But yeah, I wanted to get that just creepy feeling, and I feel like I've done that. I feel like I've created that, and that's one of the things that I really wanted to do, which was to make you feel creeped out before you even saw people drop into their deaths, right? And then you add the deaths, you sprinkle them in. That's what I do. I sprinkle in the death, right? sprinkling the death. And basically, that just creates this mundane collage of a crime thriller in a horror book that's just, at times, it's a bit of a head scratcher because you wonder how the hell I came up with something so ridiculous. Not the book, but I mean, like, certain scenes. Like, certain scenes are just really gripping, and other scenes are just like, why? Like, why is this here? And of course, it's here because it's horror, because it needs to be. Um. So yeah, so Nightshade Station is officially out. Yay! One thing that I didn't explain in the first video that I'm going to explain now, and again, I don't have to divulge this information, but I'm going to because it's kind of become an issue for me, which is promoting my books. I'm doing this. I've done 2 videos today. I'm very proud of myself. It's 2 hours of video content promoting a book. I should do this more, shouldn't I? You should, Justin. Thank you. Thank you. I should. But basically, last year, I'm going to briefly mention Brimstone Express, and I had so many opportunities to promote Brimstone Express, and then I didn't. And, life happens, and Brimstone Express got started, but certain circumstances prevented it from being completely finished at the time. And then I finished it, and rather than promote it before I published it, I just went ahead and published it. That's a big mistake. But it happens. But then I got busy. And then, again, life happened, and I just didn't have it in me to promote the book. But then Nightshade Station happened. And I'm a good multitasker. I can promote a book and write another one at the same time. But I still didn't do it. And I hate that I'm like that. I hate that I can come up with a great concept for a book, and I can kind of sort of but not really promote it as I'm writing it. And then when I publish it, I wait till literally the last minute, and when it's now officially out, to promote it. Because I already know, I can hear the book marketers. I can hear them in my head now. You should promote your book 5 to 6 months before it's written. It's like, I know, but I can't do that. Maybe you can, but I can't. Is it wrong that I wait till after the book's published to promote it? Yes, but I'm aware of it. Doesn't that help? My point being, the point of this story last story I'm telling you, is that I'm going to try certain tactics that I've never tried before to promote the book. I'm also going to try other tactics that I used back in the day for other books that kind of worked, that I kind of sort of forgot about. To which I'd be like, oh, holy shit, it actually got me that got the book some notoriety. I should probably do that again. Why did I stop? I have no good excuse. I have no good excuse at all. So in conclusion, Brimstone Express, it had its time. But now it's Nightshade Station's turn. Don't worry, Brimstone Express. I'll still promote you, but this is the bread and butter now, right? This is the book that's currently going to be featured. I do thank all of those that attended the video tonight. Much appreciated. I'd like to thank Ariana for stopping by. And yeah, so if you haven't already, if you liked what you heard tonight or earlier today and you'd like a copy, please go and buy yourself a copy. You can download it off of Amazon on Kindle, and it is officially available of people upstairs. It is officially available in paperback as of 3 o'clock. So it is officially available on Amazon for Kindle and paperback. I do apologize for those that listen to audiobooks. I just, like I said at the beginning of the video, I don't have my books in audio because I have conflicting issues with the companies. So unless they come down in their price in the way that they structure it, I just can't. I can't work with audiobooks. But there are other ways to listen to audiobooks, isn't there? I imagine there is. But yeah, so thank you again, all of you that attended this video. It is much appreciated. I love the support, and I want to make this book an absolute success. So thank you again, and please do go get yourself a copy, and have a good rest of your night, everyone.